Hi, everybody. My name is Benjamin Klein, and I just kind of wanted to give you an example of the type of thing I'm looking for in this video. I want to see your face, and I'd like to see your writing too. If you can't figure out how to do that, seeing your face is the more important thing. But what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you just go through, and I want you to talk about your cultures and use that term cultures intentionally because we all have more than one culture. And when we talk about intercultural communication, we're a lot of times talking about communicating uh, between cultures, and we're part of both cultures. So that's really important. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and go through, and I'm going to try and do this. This is my third time trying it because I'm trying to do it in 15 minutes. I'll let you go 20, but I'm trying to keep it at 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes is the rule. Okay. So anyway, let's start out. If somebody asks me what's my culture, I'm probably going to say I'm white, white Anglo American. That's my culture. And uh, if you wonder how I ended up with that culture, I was born in the Midwest in 1975 to white Anglo American parents. There's a lot of German and Irish influence in that area, but basically it's Anglo American. And that's what I've lived with. I've lived in the Southwest for the last 30% of my life, but this whole time I've been white. The fact that I live as a minority here doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not still white. There are privileges that come from being white. There's a really great article you can Google if you want to, Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack. But I just want you to do a few things that are privileges from each of your cultures that you get. So anyway, privileges. There are very few places where I can go where I'm excluded based on my ethnicity. There's very few countries in the world where my passport doesn't gain me entry because I'm an American. There are very few jobs that won't hire me based on my ethnicity. Legally, there are none, but you know how it is. Most people hire people like them, and most people will hire white people, even if they're pretty racist. The laws of my country assume values tied to my ethnicity. All the products sold in the country where I live are required to have my native language somewhere on the packaging, explaining what's inside. So, that's a privilege. Um, there are some drawbacks to being a white Anglo American. Some of the drawbacks are that there have been a few places that were not for white Anglo Americans that I've not really wanted to go on my own. I would only go with a friend because of those few places there are. Some people don't understand what white privilege is, and they think it has something to do with having money, and it doesn't, and I don't. I might get to that in a little bit. Um, since I've never had to learn another language, I haven't, right? I can kind of dawdle around in some languages, but for the most part, I've only ever had to learn English, so that's all I know. Um, well, sometimes other white people are way more comfortable saying racist or ethnocentric things around me than I'm comfortable hearing those things. They think because I'm white, they can say awful things in front of me. I really wish they wouldn't. And sometimes because my race is so dominant, I say things. Maybe, if in our discussion I could give examples if you want. I'd rather not even give the examples, though, of things that I've said that I found out later that those things had racial aspects to them. And that's embarrassing. But because I'm of the dominant race, I don't necessarily know that that was a racist thing. And I always hope I don't hurt people because of that. Also, I'm part of Christian culture. Now, you don't necessarily have to be a Christian to be part of Christian culture. Really, Christianity is about what you believe, not what you do. But yeah, Richard Dawkins is a famous atheist who, just recently caused some controversy. Like, I'm an atheist, but of course I'm part of Christian culture, and he is. So, how would you know? Well, I'm a preacher's kid. I've been a My dad's a pastor. I was born in 1975. I've been raised in a pastor's home. I'm evangelical. I've done the things that are expected of evangelical people. I have some charismatic influences. I've done the things that you have to do that. And even liturgically, I've done what you have to do that. I attended a Christian school. I didn't have it on here, but I've taught at two different Christian colleges. And there are really good privileges. Like most people, like just about everyone, I think my faith is the right one. If I didn't think so, I'd change my faith. Uh, and I did play around with that at different points in my life, but no, when it all comes down to it, this is what I am. Most people in the country where I live consider themselves to be some kind of Christian. So it's really not much danger to reveal that I'm a Christian. It's pretty safe. I can assume that when I move to a town, I can find a place to worship and clergy that are close enough to meet my spiritual needs. Uh, the church I go to right now is fairly evangelical. It's not the denomination or tradition I was raised in. It's not very charismatic, not very liturgical, but it's close enough. It's close enough. So, um, and I have a church family that I can and do call on in times of crisis. Uh, Work and school holidays are mostly in line with my faith traditions. I kept thinking of this break between semesters here as Christmas break. Well, works out great for me because the breaks fall on Christmas. Uh, but if you're not a Christian, then if you're Jewish, they didn't line up with Hanukkah. If you're, Muslim, they didn't line up with Ramadan. If you're, if you're Wiccan, the solstice was before the break. No, it wasn't. The solstice took place during the break this year. Good for us. Anyway, that's the way it goes. I just like your school, but mostly things line up. My methods and modes of worship can fit well with a typical work life in my area. Now, if I'm wrong and Christianity is false, that's a pretty huge drawback. Um, the fact that I have a church family that I can help. I also have a that can help me. I also have a church family that I must help. Um, and that sometimes is hard. I have a strict code of conduct I have to follow. There are things that I don't do because I'm a Christian. Because I follow this code, other people think that I'm judging them or hate them for not following it. I don't. Christianity is a kind of a diverse faith, so even though I've got uh, that code of conduct, uh, yeah, it's not everybody agrees, and so some Christians say I'm not a Christian. That hurts my feelings. And some people who aren't Christians, not been brought up as Christians, sometimes think they can tell me what a Christian is and what a Christian does. If I would say, what is my culture? Well, I am a huge part of academic culture, or academic culture is a huge part of my life. Academic culture, I had a PhD in 2005. I've taught at 7 universities and one high school. High school isn't really academic culture, it's a little different. I was tenured in 2016, full professor in 2021. I have 2 peer-reviewed books, 12 peer-reviewed publications, 40 peer-reviewed conference presentations, and too many invited presentations to count. I have all the bona fides to be an academic. Um, and I get things for that. I get privileges. My work is pretty independent. My boss doesn't know anything about communication study. I mean, she knows a little bit. Doesn't know much about communication studies. My dean, and so she knows that. She doesn't judge me. She doesn't tell me if I'm doing a good job or not. As long as I'm maintaining my place in academic culture, they assume that I'm doing okay. So I can pretty much work when I want to. Get access to all the university stuff that most people leave behind after they're done with school. I've got the gym, and I've got the library, and I've got all these things that most people are like, well, I don't really have access to that anymore. I get to teach adults who want to be there. You don't have to be here, but you are. Uh, you could drop out. I get to go to conferences all over the world and talk to the smartest people in the world, and they talk to me like I'm one of them, and that's kind of cool. Drawbacks: independent work means that I have to be entirely self-motivated, and sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I work too much or too little, and it's hard to know if it's enough. I don't have a boss who can tell me. I have to submit my work to peer review because otherwise there's no way of knowing if it's good. Uh, People think that I make money at this. People say, "Oh, you've got these books." No, you don't make money at academic writing. It costs money, and especially these conferences where I talk to the smartest people all over the world are just absolutely astronomical. It's the price of this is crazy. I have to teach adults who often know more than I do, and I have to give them grades, and I think that is absolutely idiotic, to be perfectly honest. Um, you have jobs, you have lives, you know what's going on in your life more than me. And now I have to give you grades based on these standards. It doesn't make sense. I honestly don't think it's appropriate for all of these smart people to take me as seriously as they do or to take themselves at these conferences that I go to. And sometimes it conflicts with my faith identity. Belief based on peer review and belief based on revelation are two really different things, and there's conflict sometimes. I'm heterosexual. I'm part of heterosexual culture. Uh, I think I was likely born heterosexual. I'm not going to get into arguments about that right now. I've had girlfriends. I got married in 2008. I had a daughter through heterosexual sex with my wife in 2013. Uh, so, pretty good evidences. None of that proves that I am a heterosexual any more than being baptized proves I'm Christian, but pretty good indications. Most of the world is designed with heterosexuality in mind. No faith or culture thinks heterosexuality within boundaries is evil. It's pretty easy to find examples of heterosexual behavior in any medium from any era. So that's good. For me, uh, heteronorms make finances my responsibility. Uh, if well, when my wife has had trouble with a boss or a job, she's quit, and that isn't generally seen as a choice for a man. You have to keep going. Heteronorms make, and if we got divorced, really good chance that I would have to pay some kind of child support. Even if we got 50-50, really good chance she wouldn't. It's just kind of the way things are. Heteronorms make me look strange in a nurturing role. People think that I'm doing something odd when I'm taking care of my kid. That's a drawback. It's stupid. The fact that heterosexuality is so dominant, kind of like the stuff I said about race earlier, um, makes it so I'm blind to places where I'm just assuming heterosexuality and don't even realize that's what I'm doing. I'm also disabled. I am part of disabled culture. I don't really like to think of myself that way, and that's sad probably too. But I've been diagnosed with a few um, disabilities that affect me and that cause each other. We know now that probably my diabetes was caused because of working with my depression and my ADHD and TBI, and the fact that I probably likely always had low testosterone, caused me to put on a lot more weight and caused diabetes. I mean, these are things all kind of work together, and then I'm fat, and so that affects my depression. Um, it also lowers my testosterone stuff. It's really, whatever. I don't really think of myself. I don't honestly see myself as part of that culture, but I have to recognize that I am, whether that's what I think about or not. Privileges. I'm at the doctor or therapist all the time, every week about. So if something minor comes up, I can say, "Doc, I got this going on." They say, "Oh, well, we'll take care of that too." This is pretty good. My disabilities are largely invisible, so I can go through life without thinking about them much. And sometimes I can blame my illness for things that aren't really my fault, that I just didn't want to do, and say, "Oh, it's not my fault, it's my illness." I'm hyper focused, I'm amazing at things at which I'm hyper focused. Drawbacks, my disabilities went undiagnosed for so long that sometimes I think they're fake. have to take a lot of pills, sprays, and injections. I can't eat foods that I like, and I can't focus on things unless I hyper focus on those things. So that's it. That's mine. Now you do yours. We'll see what's going on. Bye.